Mr. Mitch, I am so glad that you reached out to come talk to us a little bit more about kind of how you are advancing your film career, and with the sequel to Bogman is kind of wrapping up, and I'm excited to hear about it. So thanks again for coming and giving us this opportunity to hear.
Well, man, thank you for allowing me to. I mean, like I had such a great time the last time that I was here, and it was such a good conversation. I was like, man, I got to come back. There's no option.
Well, the thing of it to me is that I think you'll agree with me that the film that you guys created, it fits a niche genre of people who like. How would you best describe that genre that this film fits into?
The Bogman,
Yeah,
um, horror comedy,
yeah, horror
low
comedy.
budget horror comedy.
But I mean, you say low budget, but I've had the privilege of watching the first one, and it's it wasn't what I thought it would be when you're talking about low budget. But you can tell you guys put a lot of effort into the production of it, and then since the production of Bogman, you announced last time that you guys signed with a distributor, which is going to elevate the presence of the product you guys are putting together. Tell us a little bit about, or recap a little bit about the distributor that you guys signed on with.
Well, we signed with Green Apple Entertainment, and they have been a joy to work with. They, because I said last time I was here that I'm still navigating my way around all this stuff,
Right.
And they saw that, but they also saw that we were super hungry and we were actually doing stuff that a lot of the other producers and directors they work with don't do. Like a lot of the times when filmmakers, they get that distribution deal, they think, oh, well, that's it. My work's done. Hand it off.
Right.
But it's not. Like, even if you're making another movie, that movie that you just made still continues on. You still have to do PR for it.
Right.
And distribution companies, they are distributing your film. They have some marketing plans for it because they got to make money and they got to promote it how they can, but they don't sit down and like, all right, we got this campaign that we're going to do this,
Sure.
and this. Like, it's up to you as the artist to go out there and
really promote.
Yeah, and we started jumping on film festivals, horror cons, anything that we could show up and peddle our wares. And doing stuff like this, reaching out to people and I work at a TV station, so I had some other resources for PR that I could throw at it, and they called me up, or one of the times I called them up, they were like, Mitch, a lot of the directors and producers we work with aren't doing what y'all cats are doing. Like, in fact, like whenever we see that your number is calling, you're the only time that we all smile about it because we know that y'all are going to go above and beyond and
Sure.
do exactly what y'all say. So they've been returning that kindness very well by taking care of us.
It sounds like everything, and this goes along with everything else in life. There's truly no easy button that you can push that says, boom, everything's going to be taken care of. Even though on my desk, I actually do have an easy button, but it's for another purpose. Life, anything that's worth having is going to have to take some work to put forth and make it happen.
And sometimes that work is never over.
Yep, but also that work will get rewarded if you're passionate enough about it and willing to put the work into, or the effort into your work. It can reward you down the road with it, but it does require work to go into it. Before we started recording, I was asking about kind of some of the processes. Following you, it was interesting following you on social media as you guys are just finishing up production on your most recent movie, which is a sequel to The Bogman.
Yes, sir.
The things you were talking about are things that I just never would have thought about going through the process. So can you give us kind of a little behind the scenes of what does it really take to produce a movie or to a film? What does it take as far as coordination? How many people total did you have in the crew on this one?
We had 40 plus people.
So 40 plus people and you don't have this like big major budget to where you've got costume people coming in, other creative people helping with set design. And then, I mean, you guys had to figure it all out on your own.
Yeah, I mean, and we had friends and homies from Bogman that did so great at that job that, of course, they came on over into this one, like Richard Henderson. You mentioned set design and stuff like that. Richard Henderson was our art department guy. In layman's terms, art department is anything that is practical within the movie, like if a prop, special effect, a poster up on the wall of the way a room is dressed, that's all art department.
Right.
And Richard did it all by himself, both movies. We had an amazing special effects team by Sea of Madness, but it was still mainly Richard running around doing everything. And that was the thing, like the movie, we're still indie. We're still amazingly full-fledged indie, and we're not a studio, but we're starting to grow, and we're starting to get there, and it was a whole different ball game between the Bogman and Sea of Madness. You asked about what it takes. Prep is the number one thing, and I thought that because I had 10 months to prep for Sea of Madness. Like whenever we did our Bogman preview here in town, that was very successful and all that. Like literally the next weekend after that, we started driving to Alabama and Little Rock and Baton Rouge to look at battleships and submarines. So like March of last year, we were full-fledged in pre-production for Sea of Madness. So that's 10 months. We had 10
Wow.
months to prep for it. And I got so focused on prepping the production, like prepping the shots, prepping what we were going to need for the scenes and scheduling that, and having that itinerary made out. Like I was focused so much on the art and production side of it for 10 months because we only had 5 days on the boat that we were on, the USS Kidd. We were on that for 5 days, and we were on a fishing boat for 1 day. And so I spent all of my time prepping for production that I forgot about the human factor, because everybody that was doing this, they weren't doing it for the money, like everybody was making an insultingly low amount of money. I mean, those low figures add up in the end,
Sure.
but people weren't there because they were waiting for the paycheck.
Right.
They were there because they believed in the story. They believed in the idea. They thought that this was going to be a fun, amazing experience, which it was, once in a lifetime experience. And they just wanted to be there.
Sure.
And unless if it was not like that, we would not have been able to accomplish.
What do you
stuff.
think that you learned from the first Bogman, from that pre-production, production, and post-production to launch? What did you learn from the first film that you're able to, I don't know, I wouldn't say make better, but kind of advance what you guys are doing now?
Well, whenever we were thinking about it, we couldn't even put it in the same mental headspace as when we did Bogman, because when we did Bogman, we only filmed on weekends. And now, granted, it was 2 months in a row of weekends, but we would film Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and we would have Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday to prep for the next shoot. Like,
Right.
oh, we got to get this. Oh, yeah, we need to make sure that we have the guns for that, but with this was the first time that I've ever filmed a principal photography of a movie in a consecutive setting.
Okay.
Where every day you had to accomplish a goal, because once you leave, you can't come back type
Sure.
situation. So we had to think of it very differently.
What did that do to the stress level of making it all work out? Did it amplify the stress some, knowing that I've got from this day to this day, and we've got to get it all done?
The stress was insurmountable. Like
Really?
I was telling Alex earlier, like during the making of this, I legit had 2 mental breakdowns and a panic attack while we were shooting this, because, as the director, it's your job. And I knew that going in, but as the director of a film, especially like this, where you have because we had to run 2 units A and B almost all the time, all day long to get everything that we needed. And so as the director, I couldn't take 5 steps in a direction without 3 or 4 people coming up and asking me questions. And I have to have the answers for those questions. And if I don't, I have to be able to think of the answer within 30 seconds, you know? So that was crazy stressful. There were numerous times where like the producer Adam and Sharina Leggett, one of the makeup artists, was like, Where'd Mitch go? Where's he at? And I'm just sat there back behind the place, just chain smoking cigarettes and like just chugging water, like, get it together, man. Just get it together. All right. Okay. All right. All right. You got this. Now just go back in there and pretend like you know what you're doing. Let's do this. You know, and it was a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, when it came time to set your cast up, and so you got pre-production. With that pre-production, you're kind of lining all the people up.
Mm-hmm.
Did it come down to the wire where you're like, I don't know if we're going to be able to pull this thing off because I can't get this schedule to line up with this schedule, and it's like herding cats?
We were naively upbeat. Like there was never a question in our mind on whether or not we were gonna film everything, like or pull it off or whatever. Like we were like pretty much, because like we knew it was going to be tough going in, and I warned everybody for months because everybody's like, oh man, it's gonna be so fun. I'm like, yeah, it's fun, but it's gonna be the most miserable fun that we've ever had together. And so I had a pretty good idea of how tough it was gonna be, but when you actually get there, you know, and knowing it's tough, you just have that naivete, like it doesn't matter, like we can do it. We can do it. You don't like.
But then when you're in it,
when you
it's
get
like,
there,
holy cow,
this is a big wave. And I actually told somebody, I was like, listen, the only reason that I know we're going to be able to make it through this is because we're too young, dumb, and naive to realize how big the wave is. And but we found out how big the wave was.
But you know, that's really, you know, it's a really good point that you bring up. I see too many entrepreneurs or people that have great ideas, or they will start out great, but they let things that creep in paralyze them. I'm sure you would agree with this, that in those moments when you're in kind of freak out mode, you had a decision to make at that point. Am I going to push forward, or am I going to run the other direction? And I'll be willing to bet you didn't have all the answers when you made the decision that I'm going to push forward, but you figured it out. And I feel like so many people would have that that burning fire that's in their belly of wanting to make something happen. If they would just, when those moments hit, if they'll put the right foot in front of the left foot, you'll be amazed at what the outcome can be. When you're not afraid to fail, and that's hard. It's a hard one. But when you're able to put the fear of failure to the side and say, I'm going to push forward, and if I fail, it's okay. We're going to learn from it, but we're going to be better because of it. You ever feel that sometimes, that, you know, you're in this situation, your back's against the wall, that it would have been easy to just back out of it. It would have been hard to live with the consequences, but it's, you got to push forward. Would you agree with that?
I agree. In fact, something that I told the director of photography and the actors and stuff like that, anytime they ask me, it's like, well, what if it don't work? What if it fails? What if we don't make it? I'm like, no, we're not going to fail, because we can't fail. We do not have the option of failing. Be like, it don't matter if we don't get everything. We're going to get enough to tell this story one way or another, by God. And that, I think the thing that made Open Heart so blessed in this was that, I mentioned earlier, everybody was there because they wanted to be there. Everybody was there because they bought into the story, the project. And we all shared that same dedication, that failure was not an option, that we were going to get it, and we were going to take care of each other. And that was the thing that really warmed my heart and got me emotional a number of times on the set. Was like we talked about prep. I forgot about the human aspect, you know, and We got there and we had stuff we thought was planned out, but then you get there and things change on the day, and we found out that the plumbing for the showers no longer work on the boat anymore. That was new. Like, oh, so we don't have a place for anybody to take showers, and everybody's got to have full makeup every day. Good to know. And then we find out the catering guy's like, all right, I'm going to be here for 2 days, but I'm going to be gone after the second day. Like, cool. So we don't have any food or water to feed these people for the last 4 days. Awesome. Good to know. And then like sleeping, like we were going to sleep on the kid on the boat, but we couldn't because we had to work the whole time. So it was like, oh, now we have no place to sleep. Oh, what are we going to do? So like it was.
But those are really big things that would paralyze somebody, the average person. And to know that you need to prepare, was it 6 days for food and you only had 2 covered and the other 4 is just like, whatever.
We'll figure it out.
And then no showers because people have to get cleaned up, and you got to figure that one out. Oh, by the way, we can't stay here because this is where we're planning on staying.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But that's where like the crew and the actors, like everybody banded together,
right,
and everybody threw in ideas and everybody implemented ideas.
But that has to be the cool part of being indie, because people are not there for the paycheck. They're there because they believe in what you guys are doing. They want to be part of something. And those people tend to be a little bit more agreeable when things are not turning out the way that they want them to turn out.
Oh, yeah. And like a bunch of people stepped up. Our DIT tech, Chris Lyons, our first assistant director, Jeremy Harrington, and his wife, Katie Harrington, once the craft services went away, they went to Walmart and spent their own money and bought food for everybody and came back and was our personal cooks for the next 4 days. Wow. Every day. And showers, one of our crew guys ran over to Anytime Fitness and was like, hey, we're shooting a movie over at the Kid and we can't shower. Can we come over here and shower? And they're like, as long as it's 2 or 3 at a time and it's no more than 5 minutes, y'all just cycle them out that way,
Oh, that's fantastic.
And then we got a couple of rooms that we didn't have money for, but we got the rooms anyway so that people could go and shower in those. And if they wanted to crash in a bed, because one of the solutions for sleep was, all right, let's just go get a bunch of air mattresses and put them in our big conference room that we're set up as our war room, and just put them on the floor and lay down and go to sleep. So that's what we did, because we were working 18-hour days.
I was going to ask you, how long was each day? 18 hours.
18-hour days.
Wow.
And we went inside long enough to look at some footage, and then our bodies pass out for 4 or 5 hours. And wake back up, eat some food that Jeremy and Chris and Katie cooked, head back over the boat, get back on it, and or sit in the makeup chair for the next hour so that you can get makeup.
So when you guys, I would have to assume you call it rented the Kid. So y'all had it exclusively for those 6 days that y'all were filming?
No, we had to share it with business hours.
So okay.
Yeah.
So tell me how that worked out.
So from the hours of 9:30 a.m. until 3:30 p.m., we couldn't be on the boat. But from 3:30 p.m. until 9:30 a.m., we were kids in candy stores. We had complete full reign.
Wait a minute. So not only do you can't sleep on the boat, no shower on the boat, all of this is happening after hours. So it's just like
it was madness.
Wow.
It was madness. And we all started going mad after the 3rd day. Wednesday was the roughest day by far. Monday was hard, but we were all fresh. Tuesday was easy. It was a lot of dialogue scenes. Wednesday, we had a bunch of special effects stuff on top of dialogue and action scenes, and had to break up into 2 units, and everybody is on fumes on sleep. So it's like that was the friction day, but it never got to where people were angry at each other or like took it out on each other. It was just that we were all just super annoyed at the situation that we were in, but we're here, so let's just keep going,
So how did it feel when you said cut for the last time on the film? What is there that moment where it was like, we're done, this is it, we did it, we made it?
Yes. I mean, we still got to go back. We're not done. We still have another day of shooting like the kid.
But for that series.
But for that series, that last day, the 6th day when we were on the fishing boat, another big difference between Bogman and this is when we did Bogman, we didn't have any expectation of anyone seeing it. For all we knew, this was just going to be a DVD we put on the shelf and showed friends when they came over. So it was like summer camp, and we were drinking a lot of beer, while we were filming, because this was just like this was a lark. We're having a good time,
Sure.
Like we were serious about it, but we didn't take ourselves seriously, and we stayed loose and had a good time. With this, there couldn't be any alcohol whatsoever on the boat. And whenever you're in this kind of a situation, you can't have your faculties messed with. You have to keep focused. But the last day, we were on a fishing boat that was our party barge, and we were going to be sleeping on the boat. And so that was the day that the cast and crew was, all right, let's go down to the store and get some beer and celebrate. And the cooks made this huge pirate meal that we were all sitting down enjoying together. And everybody was laughing and having a good time. And I think I was probably the only one there that after saying cut that last time and that weight falling off my shoulders, I think I was the only one that was like, I don't want to party. I just want to go out in the dock until y'all are ready to go to bed so I can go in there and lay down. I just want to go home. I've had a blast with y'all, but I just want to go home.
Yeah. I try to explain to some people that that work in kind of manual labor type jobs. I've never been more tired in my life from mental work than I've ever been with any type of physical work.
Yeah.
It'll weigh on you in the worst kind of way. So I can imagine you had that relief that was just off your shoulders, and all you want to do is probably crash at that moment. I don't want to talk to nobody. I don't want to have to say anything else for 24 hours. I just want to.
And I did tell the whole cast and crew that when we were getting ready to leave the next day. I was like, listen, everybody, I love y'all to death. Y'all are my new fam. But once I get back home, I don't want to hear from any of y'all for 48 hours. I just want to go home and decompress.
Sure.
But still, even then, it only lasted about 4 hours before we were all in the text chain again. Oh, man, I miss it so much already. And I'm just like, I miss it too. But I tell you what, I'm not missing that sleep.
Well, you brought up a good point from the first one, that how it was, although you guys had a plan to do something, it was a tangible plan. But it was fun. We were doing this. It was going to be fun. It's relaxed. We're having a good time with it. There was really no overbearing expectation.
No.
But now you have that expectation. Did it remove some of the fun out of it for you?
You would think so. But once again, because of the team, everybody stayed so positive and everybody stayed so upbeat that you couldn't help but have fun.
Right.
Even in my moments whenever I was having mental breakdowns and had to go be by myself for a little bit, I still remember thinking to myself, walking back towards the ship, what else would I rather be doing right now? It's a Tuesday night. What would I be doing on any normal Tuesday night? Probably at home watching The Office, and I can do that any day of the week.
Sure.
And so you had to find moments to remind yourself that you're doing something that not everybody gets a chance to do. So here, even though it sucks in the moment, try to enjoy it. And we did. And everybody, it was a unforgettable experience for a lot of us. And would I do it again if I had the chance? Probably. Yeah.
What do you think you learned from the production of this one versus the first one? What's one of your big takeaways from this?
One is trusting delegation and trusting your team and letting the talented people be talented. And
so are you a little bit of a micromanager?
Sometimes I can be. I am pretty open with everybody about their ideas. If you have an idea, by all means, tell me, because that one idea that you say to me might trigger something in here. And
but it's been kind of hard for you to let go of all the details.
Yeah, this one I did not have any problems letting go, and this letting the assistant director or the script supervisor just direct. You direct this scene. I'm gonna go check in on A and see what they're doing. I didn't feel the need to have to grip onto anything
Well, a lot of
because
that has to do with the people that you surround yourself
yeah,
with. So being able to have good people does make it easier. But I can say that, when you find that happy medium when it comes to managing and can trust that you can delegate and others will get it done, it does take a lot of the burden off
oh
your
yeah,
shoulders for sure.
and we had some of the most competent people like Sam McGee and Chase Monson from Talk Soup Studios. They showed up with just a magic Santa Claus bag of toys that like
Wow.
anything that we needed, any idea that anyone had, they had a tool or a toy or a light or a gimbal. Anything you could ask for. Oh, we got it out in the van. Someone send a runner to go and get it,
Wow. Fantastic.
And Zane Fontenot and Jordan Shaw and Trey Baker were on the sound team, and we had some of the top of the line recording equipment with the best mics. And our special effects department, Miss Jeanette Netherlands, she did an amazing job in all the practical effects because I'm a practical effect guy. I don't like using digital
Sure.
unless it's absolutely necessary. And she had an amazing supporting team, Sharina Leggett, which was her first movie, but she came on and just learned everything and was doing the stuff for Miss Jeanette after a while. Miss Jeanette was like, all right, I got to work on this. You just do that real quick, and just started working on it. And um, whatever people didn't know at the beginning, by the end of the second day, we knew. Like you learned a lot. We probably learned a whole film school worth of doctrine within
Sure.
48 hours. I learned a lot of stuff that I didn't know, like technical things that, because I'm not a technical guy. You start talking frame rates with me and
Yeah.
start talking camera models and stuff, and I'm going to look at you like you got a turd hanging out your mouth because I'm like,
Over my head.
listen, man, I'm the idea guy.
If it's good for you, it's good with me.
Yeah. This is a movie. I just point and say action. I told one of the actresses, I was like, well, you're the director. I'm like, yeah, but all directors are frauds. Hey, we're all faking this. But
Fake it
yeah.
till you make it. What kind of advice would you give that young aspiring filmmaker that is probably recorded some stuff but just doesn't know where to go next? What kind of advice would you give to someone that wants to get into some of what you're doing but just doesn't know how? Or
Well, for one, I think that anybody that's out there that's like us, that's indie, my biggest advice is to never stop creating, never stop shooting something. If you have an idea for a skit, shoot it. It don't matter. Like if you have the funding for it or everything, like figure out. I remember this one guy at one of the film festivals was like, I have this script and I just don't know where to start. And my advice was, well, just start. Pick a scene. One scene that that you can easily get all the things needed, get people that want to come, and just don't try to pitch it as a whole movie. It's like, hey, I got this scene I want to film. You want to come help me out? And just do that. Just do it. And once you get done with that, all those people that helped, if you did your job right, are going to want to come back.
sure.
And then you talk about, all right, well, then what's the next thing we do? And the next thing. And then just do it.
You had a really good point, and that's and I found it also to be true in many things in life. If you can inspire people to the cause that you're trying to do, there's a lot of people are willing to give their time up graciously just to be a part of something.
Yeah. And especially if it's something cool like a movie, they're like, oh man, I've always wanted to do that. I've always wanted to see what that was like behind the scenes. I always wanted to know this, that, and the other. I was like, well, listen, come on over and we'll show you. And it ain't all sunshines and rainbows. Sometimes it's fake blood and no sleep.
Right. Well, so with Bogman, first film for you, right? That you produced and directed.
Well, it's the first movie that I wrote, produced, and directed that anybody ever saw.
Okay. So we'll start with that. That film got recognized a couple of times. Didn't you guys get a few awards?
Yeah, we did. We got the third place at Louisiana Homegrown, like the third best homegrown Louisiana indie film for 23. We won a finalist award at the Scream Queen Festival in Tennessee. And in LA, we got an honorable mention in the indie horror
Awesome.
festival, which was super cool. And we weren't really expecting any of those things because, we knew what Bogman was when we made it. We were very happy with it and we were very proud of it, but we didn't think that this was like an award-winning film,
You didn't think it was on the level of what people were recognizing it at.
Yes.
How did that make you guys feel knowing that my peers, I mean, people I don't even know, or people that I might even be intimidated to be around because they've been doing this for a long time, is recognizing the work that we're doing and says that, you're worthy to be on stage with us.
It's humbling and unbelievable. Like me and Daniel Stark, who's been my partner in crime in all these movies and will be. He's the DP, the cinematographer for all of them. There's times that we just sit down and we're talking to each other and it's like, real quick, while we're sitting here, how did this happen? How did we find ourselves here, man? Like, I don't know, man. The luck of fools, I guess. It's like, well, yeah, we definitely have fool's luck for sure. But I think it's, we're the island of misfit toys, like I had mentioned before. And now all those misfit toys see that we have an opportunity that not everybody else gets, which is guaranteed distribution. Like we now know that all the movies that we make with this BCU are going to get mainstream distribution. And one thing that we learned and did differently from Bogman for this was, like I mentioned, Bogman, we just did it. It was one of those things that we didn't care about the camera type or the K quality. It was just like, we used 5 different cameras on that movie because it's like, all right, well, we'll use this one right now. Joey's not here, but because we did it like that, one little bit of pushback that the distributors got was we weren't eligible for the big boys like Netflix or Hulu or stuff like that. Like we got, we pushback from that because we didn't use the right cameras. But with Bogman, with Sea of Madness, we had time, we had crew, we had a little bit of budget, we had people.
And you knew what people were looking for, what the distributors needed.
So all of our equipment and cameras and sound was all 100% Netflix, Hulu, mainstream certified. So now we know we qualify and very well can get on those major platforms now.
How exciting is that going to be when you're able to
turn on Netflix
and see something that you were a part of?
It was I'm sure it's probably going to feel about as cool as it felt like turning on the TLC app and seeing it, or turning on the Folsom or Roku app and seeing it. It was just like, holy crap, man, this is, everybody come in here, look at this. We're not going to watch it, just look at it.
Yeah, I would be that person too, and I wouldn't have any shame in doing it. That's something to be proud of. Now, advanced, so you've got a little bit more shooting left to do on Sea of Madness, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you get to the point where you're going to sit down and for post-production and start editing it out, how do you know when enough is enough? I've heard directors talk or filmmakers talk before that it's a hard balance, because everything can be improved just a little bit more. So how do you determine where that balance comes in at?
Well, I am an editor by trade. Like that's what I do every day, editing for the TV station and stuff like that. So honestly, editing is my favorite part.
But is it different when you look at your own work versus someone else's work? Because there's going to be a bias that's in there. This podcast is possible because of your support of our real estate business. If you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, I'm confident we have the tools and the processes to help you reach your real estate goal. For more information or to reach out to us, check out the podcast description for our contact info.
There's always going to be, but it's not as bad as it used to be. What kind of broke me of it was, we mentioned that Bogman was the first movie that anybody saw, but the very first movie that I ever did way back in like 2008 to 2010 was a Balkanville stoner comedy called Ne'er-Do-Wells. And that first cut of that movie was like an hour and 45 minutes long. And I didn't want to cut anything because all the conversations meant something to me. All the scenes meant something to
Right.
me. But fast forward, like, 6, 7 years later, I pulled it back up and I was like, man, that can go. That can go. Why did I want to keep that? And I edited it down to another, like, it went from 145 to 124, like my second, go through it. And so now when I edit, I kind of keep that same mentality of like, what is pushing the story forward? What is keeping you interested in this story, and what makes you want to hang around for it? And if what you got in a scene isn't pushing the story forward, telling a backstory, or setting something else up, it's got to go. It's just got to, no matter how cool it might be, it's just got to go. I don't think I'm going to have a whole lot of issues trying to figure out. I mean, a little bit, because I've already started editing Sea of Madness. Like I've been back home for 5 days, and I've already been editing 2 of those days. So I've already got the first 7 minutes of the film already halfway cut together. Just the cuts. The sound is, of course, that's going to be a whole thing. Once I'm done with my edit, then the sound team will get on there and start working on audio and music and Foley and stuff like that. But I mean, I fully expect, because we're supposed to be going back to the kid February the 22nd to finish up what we got to do. I actually fully expect to have everything that we've filmed cut into a rough draft to show everybody once we get there.
Right.
It kind of like get them pumped up. Like, all right, here's the movie as it sits. We got these last 6 scenes to do. Let's get excited about it, because the thing is I feel like, you've been around me enough, that I'm not very braggadocious. I don't really compliment myself a whole lot, but I can say with full confidence, and it is because of my team and very little to do with me other than holding the threads together, this is the best thing I've ever done artistically. And when I say artistically, I mean it's better than anything I've ever done musically. It's better than anything I've ever done book or story-wise. It is the best artistic thing that I've ever done.
I can't wait to see it. Because that says a lot. You've been involved in a lot of things over the past years and around a lot of pretty cool people. To say that this is kind of, this is it. This is your best to date. I mean, that's saying something. How do you think you're going? The Sea of Madness is going to be the first opportunity that you're going to have out there that's going to be able to have a lot of people be able to react to it. How are you going to be able to? Have you tried to start processing how you're going to handle the critiques that come from it?
The same way I handled the critiques with Bogman, because people on.
But Bogman was different, though.
Yeah, but I still keep the same mindset of it. People that critique it because of technical issues, or that critique it because of acting, or critique it because, oh, this is so low budget. My response has always been, cool, man, that's absolutely valid. Here, show me your movie that you made real quick.
Yeah.
And let me see. Let me see how to do it. Show me. And if they can't pull up a movie to show me and prove I'm wrong, I'm like, okay, then, well, shut up.
Yeah, I know, I'm with you. If you let those people get underneath your skin, it's just one more nail in your coffin of not wanting to do something else. And the old saying, sticks and stones, don't hurt.
They break them bones.
Let me tell you what, words hurt just as much as those sticks and stones do. But being guarded going through the process, I think, is great. And I mean, you're going to learn. I mean, there's going to be some critiques, I'm sure, is going to pop up. You're like, you know what? I never thought about that, but
hey, we'll do better next time.
Yeah, do better next time on something. But man, I'm super excited for you guys. When do you think everything's going to be finalized and ready for distribution on Sea of Madness?
Well, if we stick the landing on the 22nd, we'll be done with it before the end of summer and ready to turn in. But regardless of whenever we turn it in, Green Apple have said that they want to slate it for a Halloween release.
Awesome.
Especially if we can get on Netflix and Hulu and Peacock and stuff like that. They really want to push for that Halloween PR,
Sure.
because that Halloween PR did help with Bogman. Like we released it on the 27th of October. And I mean, it's been out just like, it's you can't really track how well you're doing until your return slips are in from stuff like the TLC
So what does that mean,
app
return
and
slips?
how much money you made off of it based
Okay.
off of views and ads and stuff like that. But you can track YouTube views. Everybody can track that.
Sure.
And it's been out 2 months and it's already 22,000
Wow.
views.
How does that make you feel?
Unbelievable. Like I don't believe it every time I look at it. And I remember the first couple of weeks, me and Jeremy Harrington, who was the first assistant director on Sea of Madness, we'd be refreshing our phone every 15 minutes. Like, it just shot up another 300, man. It's only been 15 minutes. Holy crap. Like, is this us? Are we refreshing this and doing this? It's like, no, it's not 300 refreshes, Mitch. Okay, I'm making sure, man. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's very humbling. Just knowing where we were and knowing what our intentions were and seeing it come together. Like me and Daniel, you talked about, every movie being a little bit better than the other. And that was something that me and Daniel always, we did our first movie together with a different director, Unknown Strangers, back in 21. And we just, whenever we're getting ready for Bogman, we were like, just as long as we're just a little bit better than what we did on Unknown Strangers, and Bogman is just a few steps higher than that, then we can say that that was a success in our mind. And coming in to Sea of Madness, we were like, just as long as we're just a couple of steps above where Bogman was, we'll be good. But then after about the fourth day of reviewing the footage, we realized that, we just went up 2 flights of steps and didn't realize that we had gone that far, because the quality of the movie is just stellar. Like I am blown away. I was like, this is a movie that I directed. Like the acting and the shots and and the color. Oh my God. I was so happy and proud of the color, because I don't know if anybody's seen any of the behind the scenes pictures that we had on our Facebook page. I told the gaffers, the director of photography, all the people on the lighting and camera crew, I was like, listen, every time we're in the ship after the mermaids have taken over, I want this to look like a House of 1,000 Corpses funhouse on acid with all the colors. I want blue, I want green, I want purple, and I just want it to just blast them. And whenever you say that to people, in the planning stages, I got pushback from that from my own crew. Like, well, maybe if we no. I'm seeing this in my head. We've got to blow this thing out with color. And like, all right, man, we'll do it, and then they did it. And then we looked at it on the playback monitor and I was like, yes, that is exactly what I've been picturing in my head since I read the book, and I think that it's going to make the difference in the viewer's pleasure of the film.
Man, that's really exciting to hear. Where do you see going next? I know that you haven't even finished this one yet, and there's still a lot of road ahead for you to get it to market. But is there another one planned behind this one?
Of course, we've got 10 movies to make.
Wow.
And 5 of them are written. So we already have the script for the third one already in hand. And we've already secured all the locations except for one. And so never stop.
So you're in this. This is moving forward.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Yeah. Even if we talked about it, even if, everybody in the crew quit after this movie, as long as we've got the distribution deal and there are hungry people out there that want to do this, we're going to keep going, because we've already set our mind to it, and we already have tunnel vision about it, and it's the funnest thing that we've ever done, every time. And this is what we want to make our livelihood with at this point. Like before, money is always kind of especially with Bogman, it was always kind of like an afterthought. You know,
Mhm.
yeah, you have to think about money now. You know, like the Bogman we made for like between 5,000 and 7,500. We did Sea of Madness all together. Once it's all said and done, it's probably going to be like $52,000 that
Wow.
we threw with
And I
this.
know that in the grand scheme of filmmaking, that's not a lot of money for a production, but
That's craft service for a for a normal production.
for you guys, it's real money. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a real investment of not only your money but your time going into it because you don't know if there's going to be a return. But having the passion in what you do, knowing that you've got people that believe in you behind you to help you distribute, has got to give you the confidence to really want to do more and do better. And I don't know if we talked about it on camera or off camera, but there is no quote unquote easy button.
No.
You still have to get out and work every day to help promote and
Mhm.
be able to push your product forward so that you can complement what the distributors have to offer.
Mhm.
I mean, they can't be all things to all people all the time.
Yep.
You got to still be able to do your part.
Because if you think about it, uh, we've got 3 projects happening all at once right now because, like I said earlier, even though Bogman's in the can and it's released, job's not done because
Yeah,
you still got to go promote it. So
promote it.
we're booking PR stuff for Bogman all at the same time that we're getting ready and doing post-production for Sea of Madness all at the same time while we're trying to get pre-production formed for the Bog Anthology movie. So it's like, there's always something going. There's always something that you can be working on. There's
Right.
always something you can be doing.
Where do you pull your inspiration from when it comes to the filmmaking? I know this just is not an epiphany that happens in your head. Oh, well, today I'm going to start using this camera to do this certain thing with it because I want this. Where do you pull from inspiration from a directing standpoint of trying to understand how we can advance and kind of grow in our knowledge?
Um, it's funny because I pull my inspiration to move forward from the past. I am inspired by 80s and 90s filmmakers, even more so than I am any current film directors. A lot of film directors that I love aren't even really doing a whole lot anymore. And if they are, they're waiting for that big, Disney studio check,
Right.
So I get inspired by, old school 80s and 90s comedies, horror movies, dramas, just the stuff that makes you feel good, that nostalgic feeling that you remember as a kid. Like, oh, I remember sitting down watching that whenever I was a kid, and even with our modern films, I want people to have kind of that nostalgic feeling. It was like, oh, I remember this reminds me of a sleepover back in the day when me and Jerry sat down all night and watched Pet Cemetery or
Yeah.
something like that.
You bring up a point on those 80s and 90s movies. I mean, that's, my genre too. That's growing up, it was 80s and 90s where I kind of got plugged into things. And I feel like on some level, our film industry has backed off on quality storytelling and tried to just throw in a lot of visual effects
Mm-hmm.
to augment the lack of storytelling that they're doing. And, I remember, I mean, people probably gonna laugh at me at this, but one of my favorite movies of all times is Goonies.
Yep.
And that show there was nothing over the top visually appealing about really any of those scenes, but man, the story that went into it and how
And the acting
the acting,
and
just how they pulled you into that story. You felt like you were a part of it at that point.
made you want to go explore some caves,
Absolutely. Find me a treasure map. I'm ready to go with it. But I think it's cool that you're reflecting back onto those genres to kind of bring some of that back into today for people to enjoy.
Do you want to know what the difference between those movies from the 80s and 90s and the movies of modern day really are when you boil it down?
Okay.
Is those directors and those filmmakers, whenever they made those movies in the 80s and 90s, they were making those movies for them. They were making something that they wanted to watch, something that they would enjoy, something that was personal to them. Nowadays, everybody's making movies based off what they think other people want. They will, if they liked this, they'll like this, and they'll spend this money on this. So we got to get them. We got to make sure we include this. And whenever you make movies for the audience, you fail. Yeah. As strange as that might sound out loud,
trying to anticipate what someone's wanting or needing, or they're trying to force something down your throat that you don't want to begin with.
Any good filmmaker or artist makes their art for them. They make it as something that they personally would enjoy, because the thing is humans, we have way more things alike than we do different.
Yeah.
And whenever you make something for you, people notice that and they can relate because they see a piece of you.
They see the quality that goes into it. Anytime, just in my daily business, if I'm not trying to be, well, we'll even just go a little deeper than that. It's all about relationships. You know, if I'm going out to try to sell somebody a house and I'm not spending the time to find out what they really want or how this is going to affect them, and I'm just trying to push a house down on them, then, I mean, we're not going to have a very successful outcome.
No.
But when I take the time to see what really matters and I put myself in it personally with them to give them professional advice, the outcome is much different. So it sounds a lot similar to what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And if you put yourself in it, you give it your all, you will be able to see the outcome be much better because you get to feel the passion that someone poured into it.
Yep.
Fantastic. Well, we know that Bogman is out there. Where can people actually go see it to go ahead and get prepared for the Sea of Madness that's coming around Halloween?
I mean, it's of course on the Green Apple YouTube page. It's on the TLC app. It's on some different Roku apps, the Folsom app. It's about to be on Tubi and Amazon here very soon. The only reason it's not up there now, you watched Bogman. Yep. So the reason that's not up there now is because it got kicked back because we had to remove the fake beer ads and movie previews at the beginning of it. Which
I thought were funny, by the way.
That's what I was like too. I was like, but they're not real. Yeah. And then but the distribution company was like, but Sea of Madness is real. Yeah. You made that real now. Who's to say you can't go make those beers? Yeah. And I'm like, well, we did plan on doing that. And she's like, well, case in point, we got to take them off.
Right.
And like, these are the big dogs. These are the main ones. And if they are not happy, no one else will be happy. So we got to cut them. I'm like, you know what, man? I'm not that kind of director. It's like, no, I want it. It's like whatever it takes to get this to the biggest audience that it possibly can, do it. You can always buy the DVD and get all the previews in it if you want to see it that way.
So we know that all the places where they can go right now. How can they stay informed on your current projects and kind of what has come down the line? Do you have any social media that you're putting things on, website?
Facebook is the best way to get in touch with us and keep up with our stuff. There's the Bogman Film 2023 page. There's the Sea of Madness Film Facebook page. And you can actually directly reach out to us and talk to us personally because we're not so big that we don't answer messages. You know?
That's cool. I mean, because one of the great things about the indie side of the business is that you're still accessible. You can still engage with people, and I know a lot of people that's just the fun of it for them, is that they want to engage with people of like mind that's creating things that may have advice or have questions and see where things are going. They want to be embedded with it. So I think that's great that you guys are still willing to reach out to people. Well, look, Mitch, I think it's fantastic that, hometown gals that help you are able to create at the level that you guys are, that's getting the recognition and have now got the legs behind it with the distribution.
And we're gonna be here. We got 7 more movies or 8 more movies to make, and we're gonna be making them here. So we've got more film work coming to our area,
and I think that's just great. People, when I started this podcast, it was meant to highlight the cool things that make our community great. And for so much of my life, I have ignored the arts and kind of the asset it brings to our community, and have since opened my eyes up to it. And it's just really caught me off guard trying to understand how the arts embedded within a community can highlight so many assets the community has to offer, and so many rich things that we have here because of the arts.
Yeah.
And when we say the arts, I mean that's a wide range of things, but
Yeah.
we've got a lively music scene here. We've got a lively canvas art scene here, and we've got now when it comes to film production, which is some of it on some levels always happened here, but you just don't hear about it.
Yep.
But to know that we have someone locally that is passionately doing it and setting themselves up to be able to make it a complete livelihood of doing it, it's just it's fantastic to hear.
And since we're doing it all here and we have the opportunity to get on some of these major streaming sites, the rest of the world can see our area now, can see us, see what we can do, see what we have to offer. Whether they like it or not, that's not my problem, but that's, I mean,
we're doing things
this is here. This is Monroe, West Monroe, Louisiana, 318, baby. We got it.
Well, Mitch, I want to encourage you, please don't stop. I think that you're going to find over the years that people are going to be inspired by what you're doing here. I think you're a trailblazer of continuing to push through. I commented before we started recording that I don't see how you do all the stuff that you are doing because you have your fingers in a lot of things. But undoubtedly, you like to keep moving.
Yeah.
Well, it's going great for you.
Never in a hurry. I'm just moving fast.
Well, I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to tell your story here again, and you're always welcome on this platform. Anything we can do to help advance what you guys are doing.
And I most definitely will be back, 100%.
Mitch, appreciate you coming on.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you for taking the time to watch or listen to this podcast. We really appreciate your involvement. Please leave us a comment, or even better yet, subscribe to this podcast and hit that notification bell so that you can be alerted for every new episode when it hits.